What's up, guys? Welcome to the line change. And in this video, we're going to be talking about and asking the question, because this is probably a question that's on a lot of Canuck fans' minds, as everyone should be, or at least should be aware by now, that the Canucks made that Vitaly Kravtsov signing a couple of days ago, actually on Tuesday, and it had a lot of Canucks fans scratching their heads, going, huh? Like, why? So we're going to possibly try and answer that question and maybe take a look into the mindset of the Vancouver Canucks as to why they made this signing when their most obvious need is a second-line center, something they have not been able to do. And I wouldn't exactly call Vitaly Kravtsov a second-line center. He's, as a matter of fact, he's a winger. So we're going to go over an article that discusses this. We're also going to go over a different article that gives us a look at the Canucks' forward group with the addition of Kravtsov. But before we do that, I want to give a quick shout out and thank you to my sponsor, Gassy Jack Art, maker of that incredible artwork you see there behind me. And you guys can check them out yourselves at gassjackart.com. You can also find him on Instagram at gassjackart. There's also a link to his website in the description down below. So without any further ado, let's dive into the topic. And this article is coming to us by the hockeywriters.com. And they go on to say basically what I just said. What are the Canucks really doing with the Vitaly Kravtsov signing? Now, this was published yesterday, or actually technically today, by the Old Prof. And they go on to say, for Vancouver Canucks fans, another August has come, and with it, there's another offseason signing to dissect. This time, it's Vitaly Kravtsov making headlines after inking a one-year, two-way deal with Vancouver. On paper, it's an intriguing move, a first-round pick coming off a breakout season in the KHL. He's skilled, still young, and motivated to prove himself. What's not to like? But dig just a little deeper, and this isn't just a feel-good redemption story or a brilliant low-risk addition. It's something far more familiar and frustrating. Kravtsov's signing is the latest in a long line of quote-unquote maybes and quote-unquote what-ifs that point to a much bigger issue in Vancouver. Once again, instead of following a focused long-term plan, the team is taking another flyer, hoping to catch lightning in a bottle. They go on to say, it's not about Kravtsov, it's about the pattern. Let's be clear, this isn't really about Kravtsov himself. The player has done his part. He tore it up in Russia's KHL last season, recording 58 points in 66 games with the tractor Chelyabinsk. I probably mispronounced that. Apologies. That's production worth noticing. He's fast, skilled, and hungry for a second chance in the NHL. For a salary cap strapped team like the Canucks, a two-way deal for a talented forward makes some surface-level sense. But that's not the problem. The problem is the pattern. Kravtsov represents yet another swing at a reclamation project, another example of management betting on potential rather than executing a clear long-term strategy. There's also a catch in the fine print. Kravtsov's deal includes a Group 6 UFA clause, meaning if he doesn't play in at least 16 NHL games this season, he becomes an unrestricted free agent next summer. That's not a statement of confidence. That's a built-in, quote-unquote, just-in-case exit. It quietly signals how uncertain the front office is about his role in the organization. This isn't a new direction. It's just more of the same. Let's take a look at a summer full of bats, because this is essentially what the Canucks offseason has been, minus, I would say, re-signing Brock Besser, re-signing Connor Garland, re-signing Thatcher Demko, although you could make the argument that the Thatcher Demko re-signing is a part of this, summer full of bets list. It really all depends on who you ask. Kravtsov's deal is only the latest roll of the dice in a summer full of them. Take the Evander Kane signing. It was a headline grabber, and yes, he brings size, edge, and playoff experience, If he's healthy, focused, and motivated, he can be a difference maker, but that's a lot of ifs. Kane's game comes with baggage on and off the ice, which we've spoken about on this channel. Injuries, locker room questions, and streaky play all remain concerns. At best, he's a high-risk, high-reward piece. At worst, a distraction that sets things back yet again. Then there's the Artur Silovs trade. This one stung. Silovs was a homegrown talent, a young goalkeeper who had earned genuine support from fans and shown promise on the international stage. With Demko's recent injury history, keeping a steady backup in-house felt like a no-brainer. Instead, the Canucks shipped him off in a deal that netted futures and another quote-unquote maybe player. Anything but a sure thing. It all fits a familiar pattern instead of committing to a clear rebuild or making careful, targeted moves to retool. The Canucks are still throwing darts, still hoping to find that breakout start no one else saw coming, and still chasing short-term wins without building long-term momentum. And each time, fans are asked to buy in again. Let's take a look at the final thought of this particular article and the story beneath the Vitaly Kravtsov signing. Look, we're all rooting for Kravtsov. That's what fans do. It'd be fantastic to see him come into camp motivated, earn a roster spot, and contribute right away. Hockey thrives on redemption arcs, and this could be one of them, but let's not pretend this is just about second chances. Kravtsov's return is yet another reminder of where this organization stands, still patching holes, skipping steps, looking for shortcuts instead of laying a solid foundation. It's not that the Canucks lack talent, it's that they lack a clear vision and the patience to stick with it. Until that changes, August will keep feeling like this, full of maybes, what ifs, and the uneasy sense that something more stable should have been in place by now. So that is the article on thehockeywriters.com. A very interesting article, I will admit. I will leave a link to it in the description down below so you guys can check it out yourselves. But let's go over this other article that gives us an updated look at the Vancouver Canucks' forward depth post the Vitaly Kravtsov signing. And this is, of course, brought to us by our friends at Canucks Army, in particular, friend of the podcast, David Quadrelli. On Tuesday, the Vancouver Canucks signed Vitaly Kravtsov to a one-year, two-way deal with an NHL cap hit of $750,000. In doing so, the Canucks added another competitor to what should be a fierce training camp battle for final roster spots. And of course, they also added to their overall forward depth in the process. Let's take a look at how the depth chart is shaking out following the acquisition of Kravtsov. Let's take a look at the centers. Elias Pettersson, Philip Hedl, Teddy Bluger, Atu Ratu, Neil Zaman, Ty Mueller, Joseph Labate, Braden Coots. And then you have several unsigned centers. You have Kieran Durbin, Wilson Bjork, Riley Patterson, Matthew Lansing, Ilya Savinov, Damon Gardner, and Matthew Perkins. Plenty of ink has been spilled about the Canucks' lack of center depth heading into next season. They drafted a promising player to help fill that void in a few years' time in Braden Coots this summer, but management made it clear that was an area they hoped to address in the here and now. Jack Roslovic remains unsigned and seems like a nice match for the Canucks, who just cleared cap space by dealing Dakota Joshua to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Flat out, there aren't many battles to be had at the center position for the Canucks. As it stands, their NHL centers will be Pettersson, Hedl, Ratu, and Bluger, likely in that exact order. Neil Zaman isn't getting claimed off waivers, and the other names on the list are either AHL players or players who are still exempt from hitting waivers. Let's take a look at left wingers. Jake DeBrusk, Evander Kane, Niels Höglander, Drew O'Connor, Archdeep Baines, Max Sasson, Mackenzie McCurchin, I probably mispronounced that, sorry, Josh Bloom, Vilmer Ulrichsen, Henry Ravinskis, and unsigned Jackson Kuntz. Now, while these players are all listed as left wingers, the Canucks have had no problem playing Niels Höglander or Drew O'Connor on the right side, and the same can be said for Archdeep Baines and Max Sasson. Höglander and O'Connor are the likely names to round out the bottom six, while Baines and Sasson will be fighting for one of the final roster spots when camp starts. Joining them in the battle, Linus Karlsson, who seems to have the inside track after a strong Calder Cup championship run, Jonathan Lekkerimaki, the rookie who showed flashes of dominance at the AHL level last season, and newcomer Vitaly Kravtsov, who is eager to make a successful NHL comeback following 2 seasons in the KHL, the second of which saw him finish 6th in league scoring. Let's take a look at the right wingers. Brock Boeser, Connor Garland, Kiefer Sherwood, Linus Karlsson, Jonathan Lekkerimaki, Vitaly Kravtsov, Danila Klimovich, Chase Stillman, and then unsigned Anthony Romani and Gabe Chiarot. Imagine what this list would look like if the Canucks hadn't signed Brock Boeser in the 11th hour. Thankfully, that's not a reality any of us has to live with. Instead, the Canucks have 2 fairly obvious top 6 options with Boeser and Connor Garland. Garland's proven ability to drive his own line makes him an interesting option to make the Canucks' third line that much better, especially given their lack of center depth. But on paper, he's certainly the Canucks' second best right winger. Beyond that, the only lineup lock you see on this list is Kiefer Sherwood. Jonathan Lekkerimaki is going to be hard-pressed to make the team, and as we said earlier, Linus Karlsson might be the favorite to win the job, but he's still in a battle with Kravtsov, Sasson, and Baines for one of the final spots in both the lineup and the roster. All in all, a few things are true of the Canucks' forward group. There are going to be battles in training camp at the bottom of the roster, and whoever is on the losing end of that battle is going to head down to Abbotsford and assist in the AHL Canucks' effort to go back-to-back. And of course, they could still likely use a middle 6 center. So that is the second article. Once again, another interesting read. But I want to know what you guys think. What do you guys think the Canucks are really doing with this Vitaly Kravtsov signing? Do you agree with the first article that basically says it's yet another gamble? It's another bet that they're making and that they're not looking at long term. They're just patching holes. And the fact that they still don't have a second line center, at least they haven't acquired or attempted to acquire someone else, like one more center, which is what they most certainly need. It seems like, as what a lot of people have been saying, they're likely going to go into the season with what they have. They are okay with Filipino in the 2C position. They're okay, obviously, with Elias Pettersson being in the 1C position. And they're also okay with Ratu as the 3C going into the season. And maybe they'll make a move in season or perhaps at the deadline. Who knows? But I want to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think the Vancouver Canucks are really doing with the Kravtsov signing. Do you agree with what do you guys agree with what the first article said? Do you guys, what do you guys think about the forward depth for the Vancouver Canucks in that second article? Once again, let me know in the comment section down below. And if you guys like this video, be sure to hit that like button. And if you want to stay up to date on all your Vancouver Canucks content, be sure to smash that subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you don't miss a single video. You can find us on social media. You can find us on Facebook. Just search The Line Change to find our Facebook page. You can find us on Instagram at The Line Change. You can find us on X at Line Change Fan. You can find us on TikTok at the TLC Podcast. You can also find us on Blue Sky at The Line Change. Feel free to give us a follow on all of our social media platforms. If you prefer an audio version of this podcast, you can listen on Spotify and Apple Podcast. On Spotify, feel free to give us a follow as well as rate and review us. It is, of course, greatly appreciated. Something else that is greatly appreciated is if you checked out our Patreon page. You guys can find that in the description down below. Go ahead, check that out. And as always, let's go Canucks. And I'll see you guys in the next video.